Funding is important, but funding is to be given at the right time for the right cause. If you give funding when the company is finished, there's no point. All these SMEs are looking for networking, they were looking for collaboration, they were looking for joint ventures, they were looking for funding.
Mobin Rafiq is the co-founder and chairman of the Global and Commonwealth SMEs Club, GCSME, addressing global poverty, promoting inclusive and impactful SME-driven economic development across 80+ countries.
How it works, the Commonwealth, now the Global SME Club. And how did you build this ecosystem of 54 countries and thousands of people around the world?
I had the advantage of visiting 85 countries and maybe 400-500 cities. I tell you, Dinis, the issue everywhere of SME is the same. I sometimes tell people that, whatever I do, I like to first see the exit. If anything goes wrong, where is my exit?
Want to be a part of something bigger? By subscribing, you're not just getting access to incredible content, you're joining a community of like-minded people who are passionate about innovation, technology, and business. Hit subscribe now, and let's build something amazing together. Welcome to the family. Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast show, once again powered by citiesabc.com, businessabc.net, and wisdomia.ai. We keep profiling the global leaders, the thought leaders, and the people changing the world. That is more and more, I would say, disrupted and inspired by technologies, by artificial intelligence, by a lot of different things. But especially what we celebrate in this series and profile is the doers. Today, I'm particularly excited to welcome Mobin Rafiq, an entrepreneur with over 45 years in engineering, industry, and philanthropy, hailing from a family-led business in Pakistan that went on to build the first engine reconditioning facility, using modern machinery imported from the United States and Italy.
Mobin Rafiq, you are an experienced professional with over 45 years of business, engineering, industry, and philanthropy. Your experience, your dedication, your passion is unique. And as well, you are a legend in the world business around the world. As first of all, a very inspiring personality, but as well as the co-founder and chairman of the Commonwealth Entrepreneur Club, CEC, that is one of the biggest organizations of business and SMEs in the world, with a network of 54 countries. As well, you have a huge background in engineering, like I mentioned, but philanthropy and combining human-first approach. When I met you, you mentioned something about your father and how he changed your life. So before I start and going more deep into your career so if you would go back to your 12 years old or 14 years old self, how would you see yourself now, and what you would have been doing different, and what would be the moments that change and make who you are now?
What a great question you asked. This question will take me whole day, will not finish. So what I'm going to do is, thank you very much for your team as well. A very good interview and a great introduction, sorry. I think just to quickly give you an idea, because my father was a legend. So if everything I do every day, believe me, when I complete my sentence, my father will always come in between. So the importance of my father today, whatever I am a kind of a reflection. And I obviously want my children to come to know about it because, in this part of the world, in UK, people do not understand so many things. So I was very, very lucky one that I was born into a very industrial family. But going back where it all started, so for the last 130 years, my family been in business. My father migrated from Delhi to Pakistan in Karachi in 1947. And he was very, very lucky that as soon he entered in Karachi, that time it was the capital of Pakistan. So there was a gentleman who wanted to go to Delhi, Indian gentleman. So he moved out. He gave us their small manufacturing unit, and he took ours in Delhi. So we had a very good start in Karachi that time. And within 2 years, my father was able to start the largest engineering industry that time in Pakistan. And so they had a good time, and probably till 1960, the door of their industry never even closed. So they worked day and night, and there was a moment when sometime I used to go and spend uh, my nights in the guard's room because my father was going around and I happened to be very close to him. And how it started off is that during the time when I used to play around in the industry, I could see the furnaces, I could see the smell of furnaces. I used to wonder how these people are making a living. So to me, I just used to feel, and the relationship of my father with the workers was so close, everybody used to call him brother. And, you know, he was one of the top technocrat I've ever come across in my life. I saw him working on each and every machine with his workers and all that. I mean, it was incredible. To me, it was something that that time I used to dream that one day I will be doing the same thing. I would like to work on each and every machine and all that. So that was for me, whatever time I spent, it was everything I learned. I just looked at him, I just watched him, and a great guy. And workaholic, and that's how the life started off. So my dream was one day I'm going to impress him. And funny enough is this, that my father used to say one thing, that all my children will be able to make a living except me. I said, why? He said, because I was literally brought up with 6 7 princely families of Karachi, those who migrated from India. So my father thought that since I'm moving around my young age, I was spending my time with them. So he thought I'm not going to do anything. But the funny thing is this, that as soon I did my graduation, I joined my father. And believe you me, what happened is this: when I approached him, I said, Daddy, I'm here. I'm going to work for you for 1 year. Okay. And then I'm not going to do your business, but just I'll work 1 year, satisfy you that I can do it. Because my father always used to say, none of my sons can work on machinery. So who would look after it? Things like that. So when I went to him, so he started laughing. I said, look, I'm here. I'm going to see. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to learn everything. And he started laughing. He said, but you have never done anything in your life. You have not even to market. You have never bought anything. I said, look, whatever it is, I'll come 9 to 5. That is my time for 1 year. And after that, whatever I want to do, you'll have to do it for me. Anything I want to do, you'll have to make sure. So he started laughing. So he said, but the problem is, you know nothing. You haven't done anything in your life. I said, come on, tell me, what is it that I need to do which will satisfy you? You won't believe it. He said to me, okay, we had a 10-foot crankshaft grinder from Italy. It's called Berco. We had the largest machinery equipment from this Italian company, biggest engine reconditioning facility still till today in Pakistan. So he said to me, okay, go and clean that machine. I just couldn't believe it. I said, okay. I took a fabric, went down there, and that is how I started. And after that, I never looked back. So the thing which I learned, and my father, so my dream was that because he had 2 units, so my dream was that I would like that my father should never see me during 9 to 5 sitting anywhere. I want to be on machine. So this is another thing. But what happened is that nobody was teaching me anything. So all the workers, they were laughing. They said, look, you don't need to. So a week passed. I was not able to learn anything. And I'm beginning to realize that, they all call me owner's son. What the hell? So I figured out something and I said, okay. So I went back to my father. I used to get good, handsome monthly uh, kind of uh, monthly payment from my father. So I said to my father, he said, look, I told you if you want to learn, go in somebody's unit. I can send you to one of my friend factory, go and learn. But in your own factory, you won't be able to learn. So this, I took it as a challenge. And I said, okay, no problem. I will do it and show it to you that I can do it. Now, it was very sophisticated engineering industry with machinery, all important. So what I did, I figured it out. So I called few guys who used to work on machinery. I said, okay, I will give you so much money every day if you let me help you and just let me play it around. I'm not going to work, but tell me the basics so that I can do it. So that was very successful technique I did. And after a few days, they were all looking for me and calling me, come here, I'm doing this. So you stand here, look at me. So really it was incredible. I think it was matter of couple of months that I was getting close and I convinced them that, and so I think in 4 or 5 months' time, I was able to start working. And because I was paying them, they'll make sure that I do the job properly. So this is how it all started. But I've explained it to you that this was a long story, but to cut it short, I've done that. So instead of, and luckily, what happened is that during the time, there was a shortage of Bedford truck booster piston in the market. So it was short. There are Bedford truck that time was one of the biggest, most popular truck in Pakistan, bus in Pakistan. So when I came to know about it, so when I saw the piston, I just figured it out that this can be produced because of my father's experience. So I approached my father and I said, look, this is what I want to produce. This is not available in the market. So how do I go about it? So he gave me a tip. He said, go to that gentleman, tell him that you are my son. He'll do the casting and you bring it and get it machined in your setup. I did that. And so in the evening time, I stopped few workers and I said, look, this is what we need to do. So they did it for me and I was successful. When I went into the market, I realized it was short. So the piston used to cost me 50 rupees a piston and I sold it for 950. So this was my start. I made probably in the first, joining my father in the first 6, 7 months, I made $250,000. Now, in Pakistani currency, that was something that I thought the best thing I can do, get down into manufacturing, and that's it. So this was a very good start for me. And instead of spending 1 year, you won't believe it, I spent 3 years. And during this time, because I had already made money, I was traveling. I started going China, Far East, Singapore, Malaysia. So during this three time, and I then during the same time I came down in probably 78, early 78 in London. And that was a very important year because by the end in September, my wife was there in Pakistan. So luckily, we got married, and in 1979, my first son came in, and then 1980, my another. So I have three boys, and but but the point is that when I came down here, uh, my base was very strong, and the machinery we had the best European machinery. So when I came down here in England, when I went around, so my father asked me to buy a radiator manufacturing plant. So this is how it all started. When I went in the 1979, started visiting Midland, Birmingham, Manchester, Bradford, and all that. Every day around 300 miles, I used to drive looking for machinery. And I was completely taken aback when, so I knew my base was very strong. I was born, brought up in industry. I knew furnaces, jig, tool room, and all that. But when I came here, when I saw it in Europe, I was completely taken aback because they were wanting to sell all these machinery. To me, this was my first experience, and I was just wondering why are they selling their machinery, because it took them hundreds of years. And but they said no, we want to get down into service industry. I said, look, it took you hundreds of years to build it up, this technology and all these young people and this. So this is where, when I was going around, I was buying machinery. I happened to visit lots of SMEs also. So I was buying machinery from very, very big companies. So I bought near around, over a period of from 1980 to 85, I bought around 2,000 machines, machine tools, jigs, fixtures. And I was workaholic. I used to visit sometime 3 times a month from Karachi to London. And so it was a very fast life. And I was very young. I did a lot. But my dream was, how do I make my father happy and proud? So this is how this, and I thought that I just wanted him to tap my shoulder and say, "Well done." And I tell you frankly, working all my life, I never got one.
You
So,
never, I was going to ask, so you never got one. But that's a very beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing with us. So during this time, you saw all the innovation in industrialism. You became as well an engineer because you were building and then transporting trade corridors, a lot of things. And as well, you saw all the business, all the crises, all the expansions, all the moments. So tell us a bit about this variation, because I think one thing is, especially sometimes in when you are in business, we underestimate this level. And I think that's what is very special about you, is this relationship, like your father relationship, the SMEs, the ecosystem. This is the thing that I think the internet took out. And I think a lot of the modern digital world is killing in a lot of ways. So I love this, and that's one of the things I love about you.
actually, I tell you one thing, my linkage with India was very strong because during that time I used to visit. And I also started manufacturing textile machinery also. And in fact, I exhibited my machine in Delhi. This was in 1996 in Delhi Exhibition Hall. I think it's, I'm not properly pronouncing it, Paktabadi Maidan, something like that. So I was with Benazir Bhutto, the Prime Minister. So it was a SARC conference, and I was there, I think, May 1986. 96, 1996, I think, yes. So, and I still remember India Today magazine took my interview because, so I exhibited my first manufactured machine, shuttleless loom, and people were completely taken aback. All the ministers of SARC, five countries, came down and they saw it. So India Today took my interview, and in that interview they had taken my picture and all that. So I still remember my pitch was trade and collaboration. And India, Pakistan should trade, collaborate, and so my thing was like that. So it's still there. I'm trying to get hold of that magazine one day. So I've got so many friends out there, so I'm requesting them. I lost that magazine because I feel that it was India Today, so that people can see my background. Why? But I still have those pictures. When I exhibit it, I'll probably send it to you. So where their Commerce Minister of India also came down, very popular man there. So this is uh, so this experience of buying machinery And then I was able to set up 5, 6 SMEs on my own, where I developed around 38% Fiat tractor component first time in Pakistan. So I became the largest, one of the largest vendor in the world, in Pakistan. Uh, my specialization, why I was successful, is because of my, I don't know, I mean, it's not my creativity or anything. It all comes from God. But because of my passion and interest, and have seen several hundred industries in Europe. So when I used to walk into the industry, because my base was so strong, so I knew exactly what they're doing. And I was able to, it was like photographic mind. I could see how they were doing it, compare them. So I developed shock absorbers, engine valves, steel sleeves, gaskets, timing case, timing cover, engine bracket, PTO cover, tie rod, clutch plate, axle casing, master clutch housing. So if you look at these components, they are camshaft. And so I was able to visit the largest industries and the smallest and the medium. So this was, I think, was my grooming and my learning. And all along, when I used to drive at night, believe you me, for covering distances sometime, that was the time I just used to dream of that, how these youth, I need to do something where I realize that how do I create more jobs? What is it that I can do to reduce poverty, and what is it that I can do? So I had a very fast life. I mean, as a joke, I'll tell you, when 20 years passed when I was doing, so one day I thought I'm going to excite my father, maybe catch him. So I said to my father, Daddy, it's been 20 years. I've never had an holiday. So I thought I got him. He started laughing. He said, "You silly idiot, you your every day is a holiday. Even on Sunday you visit your industries. So you are workaholic. If you won't work, you'll die." I started laughing. He got me. So you see, this is how when you begin to enjoy your work, it's not the money. Money comes secondary. The point is this: whatever you do it honestly, and God will help you. I've done I've done things which I feel at times that God was so kind to me that gave me the opportunity. Things which I did, where I left, it is there. No one was able to take it to the next level in my part of the world. So this I realized that it was a national loss. It was a great loss that for some reason when I permanently moved down to London, after when my father died, I didn't find any pleasure being there. So I thought, I might as well, because my family was based in London. So I came down here, but I think I learned a great deal there, and I realized that there's something end of the day you need to do which makes you happy. So luckily, I was into number of things I used to play. I used to play golf, tennis, squash. 5 years I did judo, karate, and all that. But why I'm telling you this is that so I had some sports things there, and all this what I saw, what really pinched me, that there was a lot of unemployment. And because I also was a convener into various 5 year government development programs, I was a convener for engineering industry. So that is the time I realized, and then because of my running industries, I was able to meet all government dignitaries, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Industries. I worked very closely. I worked with the automobile, Pakistan Automobile Corporation. I dealt with the State Engineering Corporation. So luckily, at a very young age, I had a huge, decent network, and So I think my network was good, and this is where I realized that one has to have a lot of knowledge. So luckily, this credit goes to my mother, that when I was 14, 15, she used to give me money to read books. And after a few years, I said to my mother, I said, don't need the money. I need the books. So I think that base gave me, I'm so grateful to my mother that I maintained a very decent library. I was fond of buying books, and the knowledge, I think that kept me focused because, and then my uncles were also very learned. So they also, I used to read Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie at the age of 14, 15. And then they asked me, why do you read these books? I said, look, I want to be a good person who can do something. So they said, my uncle gave me the best advice. He said, read about our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he said he was one of the best planner. And so I started reading the biographies and all that. And when I used to travel twice, thrice a month, my people will make sure that when I travel, I have enough magazines, books, so that when I'm traveling, I was a fast reader. But you know what I'm trying to actually explain it to you, and now we'll get back to our main topic. Why SME? What I'm trying to give it to you, trying to explain it to you is that when during my visit to Bangladesh, where I've been 11 or 12 times, and India and Pakistan and all these countries where I was traveling, my main thing was that I realized that there are a lot of people, they get very big position in government. But unfortunately, what I've noticed is that these people have no idea about business. Sometimes there is a businessman who gets the position of a ministerial position, but majority of them like to do their own things. Now, this is my issue with people that, you know, if you have a minister of education, if you check him out, he's a scientist. And then you find a minister of tourism, you find him, he's a chemical engineer. So, because he asked for that ministership. So these are the problems which I learned it, and it's a long, long story. So I'm just trying to cut it short. That I realized that the only way, uh, the biggest problem all the countries are facing is that they have jewels in the crown, but they're not being identified. During the time when I was visiting UK industry, you name any city in UK, I was going and buying machinery. I saw very nice SMEs. And this is where I realized that those are the companies, when I used to talk to them, I realized their problem, that they didn't have the network and they didn't have the funding available. They had the best product, but unfortunately, they didn't have the network, they didn't have the funds, the government was not helping them. Now that impressed me quite a lot. And since that, I started thinking that what is it that we can do? Because these are the companies, these are the backbone of every country. You go anywhere in the world, 80 to 85% companies in anywhere, whether it's UK or France or Italy or America or anywhere you go, these are SMEs which make sure that the multinationals take an advantage from them and they carry on business.
Oh, it's very special, and especially how you pick part of the business of your father, to scale it worldwide, and at the same time in the process you got the passion for empowering SMEs. So let's touch SMEs. So it's one topic that is very dear to me, and there's 400 million SMEs in the world. For instance, you mentioned 3 countries, and for instance, if you look from this 400 million SMEs, mostly the UK has around 5.5 million SMEs. And for instance, you mentioned Bangladesh, Pakistan,
Yeah.
and India. For instance, India has around 63 million SMEs, and Pakistan has a very big number as well, 5.2. So one of the things that I've been, and I want to touch this from your experience as an industrialist and as well as a business personality. Like you said, most of the SMEs are family businesses. Most of them are, they call it mamas and papas. And then, for instance, in the UK, with 5.5, only 34,000 companies have more than 50 employees. And this is the world economy. And at the moment, we have a paradox, because in one end, we have 7 companies that generate probably 20% of the GDP of the world. That is mostly the Silicon Valley big players. And then we have all this reality, which is the reality of all of us. I come from a small SME, similar to your family, probably it's smaller. And a lot of people are not even on this. So I would like to touch the passion of SMEs, because if there's someone that knows about SMEs as you, but as well, how did you start touching this from your success and your family that had already wealth to the SMEs, and then starting to get engagement in what came the Commonwealth SME Club?
Dinis, it's a good question, but I tell you, it's a long story. It's so I knew England very well, and so the last 10 years, when I came down here permanently, uh, because of my nature, right from my childhood, I had friends who were 20 years senior to me. I always believed in the knowledgeable people with knowledge. It's always impressed me. People with money, they never impressed me. I get impressed with people who are got good religion background, whether they are from any religion, doesn't matter. So I respect people who have got. Second thing, I like people who are highly educated. Then I like people who are highly skilled. So this is my weakness, that or somebody who's got global knowledge and a good speaker. So that's so because these kind of people, when you sit, you gain some knowledge. And what I noticed during the time when I was going around in London, I probably visited maybe 500-600 events in probably 5 years' time that time. And then I beginning to understand that going to events, I met all types of people. And then my interest slowly, gradually disappeared. I just realized that, I wasn't really impressed. Out of 100 people you meet, you find 1 or 2, 3 good people. Rest were there and observing and trying to do networking and all that. So that slowly, gradually, I begin to understand the value of networking. And this is how it all started. So I just thought, well, how do I go about it? So during this time, I regularly used to go to House of Commons, House of Lords, where lots of people became my friend because, because due to my background of UK, because when I started talking about how I did things in 1979, so they're beginning to understand that I have the background, and eventually they saw the family background, they saw experience of industry. So this is how they started talking to me, and I've got the hospitality touch as well. So everybody was happy, and I built up a good credentials, and then 5 years ago, I just realized that I need to have a club. So I started a private limited company, Commonwealth Entrepreneurs Club, CEC Club. And luckily, within 1 year, I had a couple of thousand members because of my network, and I was able to talk to people. Everybody loved the idea of Commonwealth Entrepreneurs Club. And then I begin to understand that the problem I was facing is this, that when I used to meet the diplomats, the ambassadors, the high commissioners of Commonwealth countries, and then I used to meet a lot of ambassadors. So they always used to say, but we are not in Commonwealth, we are Europeans. So I beginning to understand that I need to expand it so that everybody can come into the network. So then I changed the name from Commonwealth Entrepreneurs Club to a Global and Commonwealth SME Club. And now we've got thousands and thousands members. And what we did exactly, that everybody saw a great opportunity, because what I was talking, they understood the language that SME is very important. But I was talking about the real problem, that what they are looking is, all these SMEs are looking for networking, they were looking for collaboration, they were looking for joint ventures, they were looking for funding. Now, there is not a single organization. Uh, there are few organizations, but unfortunately, when you see the managing director who's running these organizations has got no practical knowledge. He's got no practical knowledge of industry. Industry is industry, whether it is small industry, big, whatever, it has got importance. So this is what I realized, that if I could bring this under the umbrella of this platform, and I think I did that. I was very successful, and people started listening to me, and I started sharing the ideas. I was traveling, lots of stories in Bangladesh, in India, and many other countries, including Middle East and all that. So I started looking into it. But the unfortunate part was this, that a lot of people joined hands. And then after 2 years, 3 years, they came back to me. They said, look, but how do we go about it? Now, this is where it all started, that I just didn't believe it, that I have been so transparent, I've been so doing all these documents, thousands and thousands of templates beautifully. I got it designed. I've got team which have been working for the last many years with me, and I was shocked. And then I realized that you need to bring things on a single page instead of writing all your life. People don't have time. So this is where it all started, and I started making it very short message, that now my message to everyone is that, look, what is it that you do? What is it that we can do for you? Visit our website. Now, this is what my pitch is, and I've seen it usually when people go, they see it, and then they come back. So this is how the SME story started, and I realized that I'm in the right track, because I realized I met number of presidents of African countries and all that when I had an audience with them. Because in London, I have got biggest advantages, that everybody comes to London, you know, and all these diplomats, that you get close to them, they would remember you, and they will make sure that, because you don't find too many people in London who can talk about SME, who can talk about industry, who can talk about skill development, who can talk about vocational training centers. So this was my pitch. This was something that I always feel motivated and happy. And so this was the mission. And I tell you one thing, it takes time. Rome was not built over a night, but I realized one thing, that it was a very difficult time. It's very seriously, there was moments where I got disheartened, that what kind of people they are. Because you see, I wasn't talking about film industry, I wasn't talking about acting, I was talking about the real problem. And that is the biggest terrorist in this world is poverty. You see, so people are talking about all these problems. I personally feel that if we can look after poverty, but again, the point is how do you alleviate poverty? How do you reduce poverty? That is something is is not a rocket science. It's a very simple matter. So I'm not talking about mega project where you need billions of dollars and then you need feasibility report, PC1, PC2, this and that. What I believe in this that the biggest advantage of SME is that something which you can do in 6 months to a 1 year. Okay, so if you can and the funding is small, you got to take baby steps to move forward. But like I said, I have been to so many countries where SME banks are run by the bankers. So again, the problem remains the same. The passion is not there. Like I said to you, Bangladesh, I've been to uh, biggest microcredit banks there. I even went there, and they all loved me because I gave them a solution. I said to them that look, you are giving money to people, they lose out money. And instead of giving them the money, why don't you give them a skill? And it's not going to cost you anything. Give them a lathe machine, give them a machine which they can uh, learn in a month's time, get themselves trained, and they can make good money. Give them a rickshaw. So these are my ideas when I discuss with all the celebrities out there. I've got a huge network out there, and I realized that those people were very big. I'm talking about two, three friends of mine who died. One was Dr. Zafarullah Chaudhry. He was running a, a company, a biggest NGO called Gonoshasto Kendra. That's mean health center. The guy I'm telling you, he was a legend. He was someone who made the policy for pharmaceutical industry and healthcare and all that. A great man, probably 30 years senior to me or 25 years senior to me. I've never seen what a great man he was. And I tell you, when I was in Bangladesh, I was playing golf in Karmitola Golf Club. So I met a friend of mine, he was a general there, General Mateen. I requested him that I want to meet uh, Assam Microcredit Bank president. He said, yes, why not? Let's go tomorrow. And you'll be surprised that Forbes magazine did a research on 650 microcredit banks of the world, and they selected 50 top microcredit. And in those 50 top microcredit, number one was Asa Microcredit, the one I'm talking about. So I was there in the morning with him, and believe me, in 3 minutes the guy became my friend. I had my maybe general friend Mateen with me. I just told him one thing. I said, look, so this is a microcredit bank with having 5,000 branches, 25,000 people. And so I said to him that why don't you give a skill? He was so excited, gave me a piece of paper. He said, right, let's do it. So there are people who are a doer. Similarly, a great many died a couple of years ago. But I tell you, I've never met people with that. And he really made it. If you look at it, uh, Bangladesh become like a mecca of microcredit. Similarly, this gentleman, I mean, I was able to also meet people out of this world. What I'm trying to explain it to you is it was meeting the top brains of the world, what I saw in them. Now, I going back to Assam Microcredit, so his father, Shafiq Chaudhry, asked his son to show me around the building. When I was going around the building, I asked his son, I said, what are your plans for future? He said, my plans are to find a job. I said, but this is your plan. He said, with my father, I won't be able to buy a car. I need to get out. And the following day, when he invited me to his house, a small apartment. You see, this is where I learned. People like my father, people like him, for them, money was not that important. They earned so much money, but the simplicity of their life. You need to be simple, big ideas. Similarly, I was asked to meet Dr. Zafarullah Chaudhry in Bangladesh, who's got probably one university, two medical, 17 hospitals, 120. I don't know, he's so big. And I was told that this gentleman, I won't be able to click with him. And so but I said, okay, fine, let me meet him. You won't believe it. I could see a senior guy, fatherly figure to me, and 5 o'clock in the morning every day, he would leave his house, go to villages, perform operations. He's one of the biggest celebrity. If you look at it in Bangladesh, Dr. Zafarullah Chaudhry. If you Google him, you'll find out. Gono Shasto Kendra, Health Center. This guy, you won't believe it, 5 minutes he listened to me. So it was a 5 minute, either he's going to kick me out or he's going to accept me. In 5 minutes, he said, called somebody for a cup of tea and all that. So that was my success. Because I came to know about it because there were billionaires there who wanted to meet him. They were not able to meet him. He wouldn't even entertain them. So he was a gentleman who actually in 1970, he was a physician in London when the East Pakistan, West Pakistan problem started. So he moved back to Bangladesh and he had a bamboo hospital, and that's where he treated those people and all that. A great man. And he, in 5 minutes, became my best friend. And after that, the time which I spent with him. And so again, it was SMEs. Because what I discussed, when he listened to me, it's a long story about things which I did with him. But I tell you, it was a privilege that I spent so much time with him and beautiful people. And I'm nothing in front of those guys.
So
But the
let's
good thing is, sorry.
no, it's a very beautiful experience. I want to touch the areas of SMEs because it's one area that you've been passionate your life, and I would like as well to explain the work you did to involve 54 countries. So just for people listening to us, most of the world economy is based on small and medium-sized enterprises, which is less than 34 to 50,000 employees, and that is already a medium-sized SME. And like I said, the biggest costs and the biggest challenges with the other SMEs are effectively rising costs, cash flow management, especially access to capital, and as well innovation and talent management and digital transformation increasingly bigger and economic instability. So from your experience, you touch a lot the funding, the work you did with investment. You just mentioned this small SMEs, banks, and so forth. This is one of the biggest things because, like you said, the biggest enemy of progress and actually the friend of I think probably disruption is poverty. So I liked a bit on this because I think your work on this is amazing and as well is remarkable, but in a lot of ways. But I think most of people don't understand because people understand, okay, they want to have security, they want to have this, but they don't understand the challenge that it is to manage a company, to create jobs, and to keep it going.
I think, again, I'll go back to my father before I start. When I left to Pakistan to buy machinery, my father gave me one tip of advice, and I tell you that changed my life. So he said to me, he could see that I had already performed. I was a great machinist, fastest machinist. Uh, I learned everything, and I was obviously born into it. So, God has been kind. If God wants to utilize you, it prepares you for it. So I was not running after anything. But what he said to me was something that changed my life. he said to me that when you go anywhere, because my basics were very strong, I knew exactly how the engineering industries run, very sophisticated that I knew. I wasn't really scared. But he said to me that when you want to make anything, there is always a volume that the same thing you can produce in hundreds, the same thing you can produce in thousands, and the same thing you can produce in hundreds of thousands. So he said to me, so you got to decide how do you got to decide how do they used to manufacture 100 years ago or 50 years ago. I think that changed my thinking. So when I came down to England, when I was visiting, uh, I immediately realized that the modern machines which they were producing were very expensive. And I realized that if I could buy that one machine, we will not be able to even maintain it, the machine, because those gadgets on the machines, we were not ready for it. So I learned, like everybody knows, I learned one thing: keep everything simple. And first, I need to do the basics, that how can I produce few hundreds of these components with low volume and split it in such a way with a simple technology to make it more labor intensive instead of less labor. This was my success, that whatever I did, I played around, I made very simple machines, simple operations, divided it into 10 operations using our cheap labor. That was classic, which I did. And those simple machines, I probably trained thousands of people in my 5 SMEs. It was such a great pleasure that I had people who were used to clean floors. I brought them direct to the machine, spent an hour, explained it to them. I tell you, they were the fastest, they became the fastest machinist. So this is where it all started, that my practical experience, what I did, convinced me that low cost machine manufacturing is very important, and it depends we have a popular saying in UK, horses for courses. So for every horse purpose you need a different horse. For a steeplechase you have a different, for running you have a different. This is same stories which I learned, that SME, first thing is, to get into SME you need skilled people. This is number one thing. If you talk about industry, whether it is SME or this is a multinational, whatever it is, the biggest problem is you need skilled labor. Unfortunate part in England is that in 80s they closed down all their polytechnics and they converted them into universities. Germany continued it. Italian continued. They've got the best polytechnics out there, because there are people who can't work, who can't go into a 5 year, 6 year engineering plan, go and learn. They don't have time. I mean, as you know, in UK, if you look at it, the richest people sometimes you find is a plumber. One of the richest men in UK is running an organization. He made most of his money on that. So skill was very important. But the problem was that here we didn't have the polytechnics. And this is where I realized one thing, that vocational training centers are a backbone of every country. And so you first train people, And when you're training them, you will be surprised. You will have lots of entrepreneurs as well. Some of them. So this is how it all starts, and I think this is where my thing also started.
So coming back to this, because you touched a lot of things there, and I want to, first of all, for people listening to us, is how it works, the Commonwealth, now the Global SME Club. And how did you build this ecosystem of 54 countries and thousands of people around the world?
I had the advantage is uh, I had the advantage of visiting 85 countries and maybe 400-500 cities. And traveling is the best thing one can do and learn great deal when you visit. To me, I wasn't visiting museums or seaside. For me, it was industry going to and understanding what are their problems. I tell you, Dr. Dinis, the issue everywhere of SME is the same. For example, I give you an example. Recently, I was talking to somebody in Saudi Arab. Now they're talking about 2030 vision. But you see, for the last so many years, I've been listening, okay, 2030 vision. But so if they need to have 500,000 SMEs, it's not possible. Because the reason is buying a hotel, setting up a cafe shop, setting up a restaurant is a different story. But when you talk about setting up an industry, whether it is textile, whether it's engineering or uh, healthcare or whatever, there you need skill and you need technology, you need funding, and you need entrepreneur. So what I was talking about is in Saudi Arab. So this is what I asked them. This is what I told them that look, okay, 500,000. Where are 500,000 entrepreneurs? So I say first you need to develop entrepreneurs. On top of that, then you need people who can come with the skill, technology. Then they have collaboration, joint venture. Only then it is possible. Do it. Otherwise, it's just a dream. You can go and talk about it in billions and billions, but one has to be very seriously. It's not possible. Talk is easy. You can carry on, and this is where I feel. Then I decided, and that's where you also come into the picture. That without people like yourself, like myself, the only way is that this synergy is very important. We've reached to an age where now if you do a project, you will make money, but end of the day, money is not that important. End of the day, we've reached to a level where for us, legacy is important. And this is where I am working, making a great team of people in various countries. Now I have around 250 organizations in South Korea. I will have around 500 companies in South Korea. And similarly, I have thousands of companies in various parts of the world where I visited. My main reason was to understand these countries, cities. So I'm okay. Now I realize one thing. So what we're doing is finding like-minded people because
So I want to touch one thing that you mentioned that I think is key for me, and like you said about South Africa, Saudi Arabia, the most important is to create entrepreneurs and to create a sense of risk, but a sense of achievement as well. Because one of the challenges with, like you mentioned, in most of the education, I speak being Portuguese, a bit French, there's a stigma of being an entrepreneur. Although I'm the son of an entrepreneur, And the stigma, it's something that destroys society, because if you don't have the sense of entrepreneurship, you have disdain for entrepreneurs and you don't innovate. So therefore, you become a problem, you become a challenge on this. So from your experience, what makes an entrepreneur? And as well, especially as you, like you said, you like to learn from young, but for the people listening to us, what is the true characteristics of entrepreneurs, especially the ones that don't give up? Because it's very easy to talk, but walk the talk is very different.
I think, Dinis, most important thing is that one has to have dreams as well, and one has to work on it as well. Uh, the youngsters are very lucky. In our time, we didn't have mobile phone, we didn't have computer. I know all those stories, how we did it. In 80s, when I was in traveling, I didn't have phone here, mobile phone that time, but I still remember within that time when I bought some cars, so we had all that. But there was no tom-tom, there was no nothing. We will just see a map and get down. Our mind used to work. But now these youngsters are so lucky. For me, sitting in Karachi and finding out about Birmingham and all these machinery, calling them, spending incredible amount of money on telephone, this and that, buying machinery, going out, somebody coming from a different part of the world, that was difficult. But right now, honestly, it's so easy. With this today's age, that one can learn, one can find information on fingertips. So this is a great blessing where you don't have to experiment. I like to learn from other people's mistake, but I still make mistake. But the clever one will learn and see. Everything is available in this world. But like I said, most important thing is one has to not do daydreaming. One has to be practical. Okay. And you work accordingly. One has to be brave enough. And for the last many years, I've been sitting on few of my own books where my family laugh that why the hell am I not printing it and getting it on the way? But to me, that was my life stories. And I thought that when the right time comes, the right opportunity. So now I've completed these books because I thought that this is important, because I like to share my experience to others so the intelligent people can learn. So, the world has changed, things can go faster, but still difficulties. Difficulties in the sense is that technology is available, digital technology is there, there's so many things, but finding the sincere good people is the most difficult part. So every country you go, there are good people and there are bad people. So you can't complain. For you to find out who's who, that is something that you'll have to struggle. You know, even sometime you are a family member, you got brothers, they can ditch you. So it's not the guarantee. But end of the day, these things, a good partner, bad partner, all these things come and go in life. You know, so you have to take a risk. You have to trust. This is a world where you know you get married, you have a wife, you go to your work, you trust your wife, you carry on, she does her own work, you are supposed to do your own work. But problems are there. So we need to, uh, so when people go out, some of them are successful for any good reason, and some are a failure. But when you fail, you gain some experience, and that is a time that you carry on, and from your mistakes you don't make another new mistake. I'm still making mistakes, so I'm talking about it, that now I'm just wondering what the hell am I going to do next, where I'm going to make mistake. But that's life. And every failure brings one more success. So one needs to, but start small and get down to it. But like I said, you have to have a knowledge. You need to be focused. Whatever you want to do, try to be number one in that field.
So I want to touch
maybe
that part. So you touched the importance of risk, get out of the comfort zone, and failure. So I think these three things are I think especially in Europe, they are kind of almost sacrilege. It's difficult to touch these three things because people are afraid. So on your experience, you dealt with global leaders, prime ministers, presidents, CEOs of billion-dollar companies, and so forth. How, and you said that, of course, what I love is that you're very honest about it, because, of course, there's a lot of people that no matter how successful they are, there's, well, people and challenge. I would like to see mostly, and I would like to push this a lot to all the audience, because I think this is kind of, for me, the most important, even for me. I learned probably more with failure than with success, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult to keep it going. So I would like to see, how do you see this, but especially with your experience with the World SMEs Club, and as well with the global, and as well everything you've been doing, what would be the highlights in specific things? Let's say if you look at 3 things or 4 things that you want to highlight to people listening to us.
I'm talking a little bit here and there with you. I think maybe you being my favorite brother, and you see, it is like I have some strength, you have some strength, and we need to combine our strength. That is the way for a success. If we can find good people, nobody is perfect. So, you have to compromise. I only try to see the good side of the people. Bad side, I don't care. And that's his personal thing, whatever they want to. As long honesty needs to be there, hardworking, and some fire wanting to do. So this is number one. So I don't care whether one has got money and all that. I like to see what is his strength and synergize it, find the right people, and go for it. But that's a difficult one. You understand? So there are good people in this world. It's just finding. This is the reason I did this platform, where I thought, I think we will be more active in 3 months' time, especially with your great help and our collaboration together. I personally feel that when a baby cries, the mother will feed the baby, isn't it? Similarly, similarly, I'm a champion, I'm working. Nobody knows. This is our collaboration where we thought that our message and the friends which we have, everybody's message should go global. So people come back to us that how we can help. So we want to send a message that look, SME is the biggest sector anywhere in the world. We are approaching government. We are just at the moment, we are just consultants. We guide, we help. Wherever we find good opportunity, we place ourselves there as well. But right now, the best thing is that the government needs guidance. They all understand, yes, SME. But the minister, he needs our help. He just can't do it. Now, the problem is, like I said to you, that, I am very privileged in one sense is this, that in my childhood till today, I must have 7, 8 central bank governors, my personal friends. I must have had 200, 300 bank presidents as my personal friends. So I know their experience, that how good they are. So spending time with them, I talk to these bank presidents who are not willing to give money to any SME. There was a time when these old time, the bankers used to take pleasure in funding people, and they used to feel happy that they built up an empire. Nowadays, they will take it away from you the moment they see anything. So these kind of bankers, bankers is 1 out of 100. You will find one good banker. who's willing to take ahead, who's willing to work sincerely, who's willing to see the potential. The world has changed. I'm sorry. I mean, I tell you, I've seen it. They will take your umbrella when there is a rain. It's a very popular saying. So I think most important thing is getting right now where I'm very happy because wherever I'm going, I'm finding people, they love my idea. And this is the reason I've now completed 35 books on SMEs on 35 countries. We completed a book on global and Commonwealth SMEs, a blueprint for that, because for me, this is very exciting because I want to pass on the knowledge. For me, my passion is pass on the knowledge because I'm not going to take this knowledge to my grave. What I want is that at least give people ideas. Those who will take an advantage will be good. So to me, this is where we both of us collaborated. And I know your strength, Dinis. So this is where we are saying that it's a like-minded platform where we find more people, bring them into it because I'm telling you, sky is the limit. Because SME, we can't go wrong. So we've got around 25 sectors, industrial sectors, where we specialize. On top of that, my biggest advantage is I've got thousands of people from these 25 sectors. So anywhere we go, whether it is India, there are companies in India, there are companies in Bangladesh, Pakistan, or Singapore, and they all want to go to Africa. They all want to go to Middle East. They all want to go to Europe. Our job is listen to them, help them, and find them the right partners, the right people. With this digital technology, it is not difficult.
So I want to touch now the what you just mentioned now that is key for me. So the power of SMEs is something that I think first you highlight something that I've been thinking a lot, but I think you touch it in a very good way, is that you only create value if you look at the other person and you listen to them and find a way. But an SME is, at the moment, we have all the hype around the startups, we have the hype around these fast growing kind of unicorns, and there's no hype around SMEs. I would say that's one big problem for us, as I've been highlighting in a couple of network of SMEs. And for instance, you mentioned the importance of, for instance, actually, I'm saying one of the things that you should transform your knowledge is in a school of SMEs, because the challenge that I find myself as an SME, for instance, I give you an example. I am, of course, not a conventional entrepreneur. I created a bank and I did a lot of work with big organizations. I'm a thought leader, but me as a CEO, I do mistakes all the time. And most of my mistakes are normally on the financial side, because if I don't work on the cash flow, I get a problem. If I don't work, or if I invest too much on technology, I get another problem. And at the moment, we have as well a level of elements that it's quite complex. On one end, this is geopolitics, but in the end of the day, when you grow up, it was probably much worse because you had at the time, first of all, it was not so easy to travel as it is now. I think people underestimate, I think in your generation, to travel, you have to be very wealthy, very persistent, and very resilient because, like you said, you spend hours and hours in the car. The transportations were not as comfortable as they are now. And that is why I respect about these things. We take it for granted, a lot of my generation and the generations afterwards. So I would like to touch about these difficulties that you saw, but how we can actually bring this to people, because you mentioned you have your children, your father put you confronted to the reality. And of course, you came from a good family and you had a wonderful father. But a lot of people don't know how to do it. And especially at the moment, I think the biggest challenge that we face as a civilization and as a society is that we're doing this with as AI takes shape and becomes more advanced than humans in some ways. But at the same time, that people are becoming zombies. And I think this is a big problem. So on one end, probably when you were growing your business and in your career, the levels of poverty was much bigger. Now the levels of poverty are probably not so big, but the levels of inequality are bigger, because now we have people with an extreme wealth that even in the past you have to be a king or some kind of very wealthy family. They were not even off of the jobs and off of the the things we have now. So I'd like to touch this historical element that I think people underestimate, and you have that in a lot of knowledge and experience.
Dinis, I tell you one thing. Like I said, the biggest terrorist in this world is poverty, and poverty is increasing. I give you an example. Uh, when we had these Millennium Development Goals, Dr. Shas used to talk about it, and you won't believe it, it was only China which took an advantage and which were able to reduce poverty and 700 million people, more or less. And then they changed the version from Millennium Development Goal to Social New Development Goals and all that. By talking, you can't reduce poverty, you know. So, frankly, if you ask me, during the Millennium Development Goal until today, poverty is not reduced, it has increased. China is the only country which has done very well, you know. But remaining, there is slowly, gradually, poverty is increasing, life is becoming very expensive, the middle class is not doing that well. So there are serious problems. You understand? I'm from a different part of the world. I look at things differently. I see opportunities in Africa, but end of the day, you can only be successful when you do something. And SME is the only ray of hope which we have, which, if work out seriously, because my issue is this: I've been fighting the last 5-10 years with different level of people on the same subject. They all agree. They all agree. They say very good. But the problem is this: they're not willing to cough up the funding. They give. You see, problem is that bankers also play. I'm sorry I'm talking about, but look, I spent my life with these presidents and all that. Hardly anybody impressed me. Okay, because when I talk to them, I mean, there is nothing. I like people who like to take a risk, build it up, but they don't want to do that. So I don't know. They are not willing to give money to SME, but they are willing to give a company which, as soon they'll go into liquidation. So this is the real problem that I think another which I learned from my experience is this, that uh, they want to give money to companies, the managers role. They will give it to the bankers, whatever it is. They give it to company which is very big because they feel that they are big and they will multiply it and do it. A small company, they will have to deal with 1,000 small companies. They said, well, this one company, if we give them the whole amount, we are safe. So sometimes it works out, sometimes they go down and take it away. So this is another problem, that funding is important, but funding is to be given at the right time for the right cause. And if you give funding when the company is finished, there's no point. So this is where I've been working, and I personally feel that what needs to be done is collaboration. So, like you mentioned, that it's not necessary the person is a technocrat, but he can be a finance guy as well, because you need to understand a feasibility report, that when you produce a product, you when you set up a project, you need depreciation to replace the machinery. You need to look into your financial cost, and you need to look into so many aspects. But usually what happens is this, that people get excited, they employ more people. There are so many reasons. Sometimes the market changes situation, the market goes down, and you are sitting with a big inventory. So there's so many reasons. So I sometimes tell people that, whatever I do, I like to first see the exit. If anything goes wrong, where is my exit? Because we have the experience, we understand anything can happen. Believe me, there are, even if you are the most clever person in the world, you, you can cover everything, but something else can happen, which you feel, oh my God, I didn't think of it. So, end of the day, one has to work and leave it to God, because we are not God. We can do enough. I'm walking, a tree can fall on my head. What can I do? I'm driving, my car can have an accident. What can I do? So one has to think of contingencies. One has to understand. I mean, in 1980, I learned on a plane how to prepare a feasibility, and I made 300 feasibilities probably, or maybe more. But I learned it, and because I realized one thing, that you need to know, if you want to set up a project, prepare on 3 4 pages some report that, look, this is what, and if you just do it blindly, you will end up in trouble. So all these things are important, but to my thing, I was there. I was there at the right time. When I was working, I had those things. I always thought of these youth who are working with me, their dreams. I have seen when they got trained, their salaries were raised to 2.5% times more. When they left my company, joined other company, they were given 3 times the salary, because they thought they were coming from a company which was technology based company. They had seen, they had never seen that kind of machinery, which I had the best of the best machinery there. And I had transfer lines, which I used to produce it on my. I manufactured around 240 different types of machines, and I only failed one machine. The remaining, whatever I developed, God was very kind. I had fire, but you've got to put in a lot of time, effort, sincerity, and this is what I tell people, that look, whatever you do, 100 times think over it, 100 times do planning on paper before you even go for it. So,
So
uh, if the young people, there are certain things which you and I can't do it. If somebody comes to me and he say, look, you start this restaurant, stand on the there, you and I, we are type of people. He said, look, I can't do it. I can't do this. So you get my point. But there is money into it. But I said, no, I won't. I'm not gonna just stand and ask people to come, because I'm not a young man. I can't do it. So these youngsters, they can do anything. This is a good sign, but one has to be prepared, that there is, like I learned it in my father's. I was born with a golden spoon. I didn't need to, but I did it because I had some fire. I wanted to. So I thought this is important for me to do it. And by the grace of God, I just feel, frankly, everything comes from God. So you have to be sincere, honest, and some dreams, but not dreams like I want to become a billionaire. For become a billionaire, you got to work, not think billionaire, not stab people, not do cheating. This is not the right thing. Start small. In my book, I've got a chapter called "Small is Beautiful," but I've seen it. I've read a lot of books on the same topic. But this is what I believe in. One thing is, small is beautiful. One must not be embarrassed, but you got to start somewhere. And right now, look, population increasing all over the world. There will be shortage of clothing. There will be shortage of food. Serious time is coming. The opportunities are there. I mean, population. Everybody needs house. Everybody needs clothing. Everybody needs food. So these three sectors will never stop. So I mean, this is where I'm working with like-minded people, talking to them, make a strong team, and go for it. I mean, it's simple. I mean, vocational training center plays important role because you have so many sectors. So when you talk about vocational training center, it's not only one thing. There are 50 sectors there where you can teach, and that's it. And you create new entrepreneurs. Without entrepreneurs, it's difficult. Look, all I know one thing, that thousands of years ago, somebody developed a wheel. So story started from that entrepreneur. Now we use this word as a buzzword, but I tell my father was an entrepreneur, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. You see, people who develop things that time when there was no electricity, there was no nothing, but there were always people who were creative and they've done it.
I think fantastic. So I want to thank you, Mobin, for all this inspiration, and especially for the passion you put into SMEs and to the world. We're going to be doing more activities. Especially one thing I think you touch is how to fund an SME, how to make it more resilient, and how to create an SME spirit. It seems like a small thing, but it's a big thing. And especially the devil is always on the details.
I think you are right. I'm confident about one thing, that once we have a good team, it is not very difficult, because obviously your experience, my experience, some other people's experience, when you go to the people, if your objectives are clear, uh, the problem is there are wrong people sitting at the wrong place. That is the problem. So if you can solve this problem and present yourself with simple ideas, how to go about it, I think it is going to be a wonderful exercise. And we are working, we're making progress. Meeting people like yourself is always great pleasure, and we need hundreds of Dinis. That is all we are looking for. Wonderful.
Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you so much, Mobin. It's been an honor. We'll put all the links to all the websites for people listening to us, how to reach you, and as well about the events and the different things that you're doing, because there's a lot of stuff. And your publications as well, which we'll be promoting more in this channel and in our series. Thank you.
Thank you very much.